where it is flawless. I would often question how much God loves me. And I had this understanding a bit earlier. There was this understanding with a bit earlier. So the main go of ergo would as prolific as never getting sick. And from this, I wanted to draw all these extravagant shapes with these kindergarten aspects of animals as rainbows. It was probably built up from the animal crackers, almost then where Tim Burton would capitalize off of the animal crackers and make bushes as those same iconic shapes of animals. I wanted to go with my own take on it and have in between the bows of a rainbow have those same animal shapes, but have it be more so towards diet, but have it be more so towards could have an actual shape of the digested food and how that's going into an immune system, and maybe play like the animal kingdom with the perfect sensibility inside of the immune system of what works and what doesn't. Almost like a Pokemon vibe where there was like, okay, obviously water Pokemon are better against the fire Pokemon. But if you've got one Pokemon who's blasting dirt everywhere, is he better than the fire Pokemon? Well, this would be a bigger stance inside of the immune system if there's bigger animals, with longer tusks or sharper fangs or longer claws. It would be quite obvious that these ones would be more prominent in the immune system if they were attacking it or attacking the stuff trying to attack it. Would be a play on in that perspective. No, I'm not. Hey, that's terrible. If only there was a rubber material, the rubber is pretty much the best thing that can make water not seep through, but then had the breathability of cotton, it would be a perfect material. And people who getting wet feet guilty would not have to try to stuffing in the shoes. It's best to know so that you're not caught flat-footed. I'd like to picture things that are hazardous, bio waste, as like some sort of animal-like structure. You know how many animal crackers had that iconic shape of just like a giraffe, but then they all kind of followed that same stylistic cookie cut? I would be watching the movie Edward Scissorhands, and in that, Tim Burton put all those bushes in that same stylistic view of animal crackers, but in bushes. If they were to have that same thing be as in the most odd place possible between bows of a rainbow, when the stripes change color, if in between those two had the shapes of not animal crackers, not animal bushes, but animal rainbows as the ratio of one color from the other, that would be one prolific stance. And what would the purpose of that being if you had all these animals and they were in the rainbow of the bows? You've got yourself an electrochemical body, and a lot of signals are being sent all the time, especially the neurons in your brain. But what about the nervous system below it? You're just walking around and then you've got yourself a brain that's sitting on top of a skull, almost like you're balancing it for the duration of the time that you're walking. That's a really eerie picture, but it's got to be 100% accurate And so then the duration of electro signals being sent about that vantage point of your brain, can't that capitalize off some? And capitalizing off some might mean how to bang home the, not the large intestine, but the immune system. What a brain response would induct is to plug and chug right answers. Mike Lindell said that he doesn't need to get fact checked because he doesn't lie. So there's no need to keep thinking back into things that had been said because it is already taken care of just by performing not lying. And so the more that an outlier has that stanza, it's harder and harder to actually be a legitimate. This is part of the things where we're glorifying AI and algorithms, because in an AI and an algorithm, its bread and butter is clickbait. You know, we live in a world where everything we need like quickness, and then the quickness is always short-sighted. You're getting short-sighted by quickness. It's usually because your body isn't trusting itself. And when this happens, even though if your brain is plugging and chugging correct answers, you know, as it's meant to, the opposite of the brain plugging and chugging correct answers, reading the lay of the land might be the sole reason why we're here in the first place. If the less you're sure of your placement, the more that the lay of the land is headed up in an AI simulation. This is when you want the one problem in order to get the one solution of a one-size-fits-all. The more that you're brainwashed is the more that you're robotic and not real. Like the Biden administration, who has people only allowed to ask questions that they've written answers for on their cue cards, is nothing short of what a robot would be doing if it was in flesh. The fact that being in flesh and acting no different than a robot, having an input be a cue card, or hearing an earbud in your ear and repeating voices of someone on a microphone from the other end, is an embarrassment to humanity, especially if it's done by a president and his administrative cabinet. Good God. Why I'm so sure of saying that is that racing and ethnicities are what the opposite of that is fundamentally. A robot can't be of a race. And then in comedy is something that passes the censors, because algorithms and AI cannot read what humor is. So by putting messages in memes, it avoids the censors entirely. There's all these scientists that say, you know, and they get all giddy when they start explaining stuff like this. Not because they're corrupt, it's just because for 1 minute they get to speak like a kindergartner and showing off. Or they would say stuff like, you know, if you wrapped your large intestine and took it out and stretched it, and then they get all giddy, it would be going around half of the globe. And then another one, he's like, if you take all your DNA structures and you get rid of the double helix and you stretch it out, and then they get all giddy like, huh, it would go around to the moon and back twice. And because it's an actual logistic, but it's cartoonish, for 1 minute, because they're all closed in their fields, they can't cross over in their fields. It's the curse of Cain and Abel, where Cain would be getting Abel to come into a place where he was familiar only to kill him. We're in the fields of professions. They love showing off, but the moment that they're asked to come into another field and show off, well, the professionals in the foreign field always strike them down, as in, this is out of your pay grade, and you can't speak on that behalf.